Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. It's now Sunday, December the 13th, 2020, and just coming up to about 3 p.m. A little bit later start in the day today. We're having a little bit of a lay around Sunday. Anyway, I figured we'd come out and pick up where we left off and get the rear part of the exhaust, or the mid pipes on the exhaust, fitted. At least that's the objective for this afternoon. I just wanted to take a quick second and say thanks for watching the videos and commenting. I always enjoy reading the comments after I post a video, and try to respond to as many of them as I can. Quick note on the channel, this is my 805th video to be uploaded, I think, and I think it's about 186 videos now on this TR250 project alone. So if you're a non-subscriber to the channel and you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing and clicking on the bell to be notified of any uploads that happen on this project. Alright, let's get to work. I'm going to have to crack the garage door open in order to pull that exhaust off. I've got to need some length to pull that out of the back of the t-shirt section, so we'll open the garage door up, we'll pull the exhaust off, and we'll clean up those mid pipes on the rear exhaust section. Alright, sorry for the compressor noise, but we've got the pipe off the rear of the car. Here's the original part number. Kind of a nice little sticker. Anyway, what we're planning on doing is just cleaning up the pipes here a little bit, just to get some of this corrosion off and some of the old paint, just to help these pipes slide together a little bit easier. So we're just going to get the DA sanders out and just clean these up a little bit, and then we'll get them pushed back on the rear of the car. It's a good thing I don't have the garage doors insulated yet, because I've had the garage doors up about 10 times getting the exhaust in and out to do some test fitting. And I think we've got it to a point where it looks pretty good. We've got clearance under the transmission mount here. We've got the original J-type overdrive bracket supporting the mid pipes and bolted up fairly tight. These are pretty good. I mean, I haven't solid mounted them, so these can go up a little bit, but I've got clearance through the t-shirt section at the front and the rear. And we have the pipes mounted just on the rubber bush at the back. This one's got to come back a little bit. As you can see, it's being stressed a bit, so it's got to pull back a little bit. So anyway, we're making progress. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the rear pipes out, and I'm actually going to solid mount clamp the mid pipes and the header pipe. I don't have the clamp on the collector yet, and that tends to want to twist a little bit when I start manipulating the pipes. So I think we'll hard mount the collector, and we'll work our way back from the mid pipes back, and then we'll stick the exhaust back in the rear. So we're getting there. It's just taking a bit of fitment to get it correct and make sure I got clearances all the way around. Alright, so the exhaust is going to come back off again for the, I don't know, 25th time, and then we'll have to put it back on again once we get everything situated here in the front. Trying to figure out, as far as clamping is concerned, how I want to do the exhaust clamps. I'm thinking of welding this here in the center section. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I think we're going to weld it there, and we'll just clamp it here, and we'll clamp it obviously at the front here with this mega clamp at the collector. So probably going to be 2-3 pieces. So we'll see. We'll figure it out. Well, it's a good thing I don't work in a muffler shop, because I've spent about 5 or 6 hours on this already. You'd think it'd be pretty easy just to fit a few little middle pipes, but it's quite the process making sure that everything clamps up properly, everything goes through the t-shirt section properly, not fouling on the transmission mount, the collector is clocked properly, and then I'm starting to work on these hangers at the rear here. I've got one done on the driver's side and rubber bushed, and we're just working on this side. Got a couple pieces of scrap down there that I'm working with, but in order to bend it up, before I'm actually going to make a bit of a template, I'm using this stuff, which is this really thin strapping. I'm not even sure what this is for. I think it was used for the garage doors actually, but it's quite sort of bendable and malleable, so I'll be able to bend it the way I need to get that mounted back there, and then I'll put it into some more solid steel. So that's what we're up to now, just fixing that rear mount, and then we're going to call this done for now. I don't know if you noticed, but I did decide to go with a welded joint up here, so we'll have a clamp up here and clamps back there in the mid, so it'll be kind of a two-piece exhaust pretty much going to have to take the whole thing off to get the exhaust off anyway. So I think what we'll do is we're just going to leave it tacked there for now. We're not going to fully finish weld that until we know that we're good to go when the body goes on, because I am still concerned a little bit about the length of this exhaust and things may have to change. So we've got it kind of mocked up where we think it's going to be, and with the hope that I don't have to change anything. But if it has to change, then I don't want to have that fully welded up there. So let me get to making this bracket back here, and I'll bring you back when that's done, and then we'll call the exhaust done for now. Yeah, I'm not going to leave that section like that unpainted either, so everything is going to come back. This is just a sort of a dry fit up for the startup of the car, and then once we've got the car started, this exhaust will come off completely. It'll get scrubbed up and repainted with some high heat or high temperature black. So anyway, back to the bracket. All right, guys, Friday, December the 18th, and we're just picking up where we left off. It's been too cold to be out here the last couple days in the garage. It's been about minus 18 degrees Celsius outside overnight, so it's been about just above 0 degrees in the garage. So not very comfortable to work out here, so we've just stayed inside and done other chores. We're back out here today. We've got the heater on we've got the garage up to about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, about 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. So we're going to pick up where we left off and fix this bracket. We do have the driver's side done. We're just working on the passenger side. We're just about to break out the acetylene tank and the torch. We need to do a little bit of a twist in this bracket over here. I've got mounted up to the vise. So we got the tank out. I'm going to grab my little turbo torch. We'll heat this and I'll give it a bit of a twist to make that fit a little bit better. So that's what we're up to. I think what we're going to do after that is we're going to still got to do the carbs, the linkages at some point, but I'm kind of avoiding that at the moment. I think what we'll do is maybe we'll try to play around with that sway bar and the radiator protection shield and get that finally mounted to the car and off the floor. So a few challenges with that, and hopefully we'll be able to overcome that at the end of this session. Alright, we've got the sway bar and the radiator protection shield here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these old mounts and poly bushings that were on the car when I got it, but for some reason I can't get this to fit back the way it was. Now this is a different radiator protection shield. This is a later car, but if you go back in my videos, I actually did some measuring of the old versus new radiator protection shield, and they look dimensionally to be the same. They have the same bolt up to the frame as the newer shield, so there's no reason why this shouldn't fit. Now as far as the location is concerned, with the sway bar, the end link mounts were way too far back on the lower control arms for some reason, so I've got to figure out what is going on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to take the sway bar off the bottom of this radiator protection shield, and I think we'll just fit the shield up, and we'll fit the bar up to the end links, and we'll see where it lands before I go about drilling any new holes for new mounts and bushings that I've ordered and I have here on hand, and I'll show you those in a bit. So we're going to remove this from the radiator protection shield first and move forward from there. Alright, we've got our radiator protection shield just loosely mounted, just with 2 bolts, and we've got our new sway bar bracket kit, and the holes actually are already drilled for this, so the outside 2 holes I'm going to try to reutilize. That was the stock placement for these U-bolts, so let's see if they work with this sway bar. And can you believe they don't even supply you any of the nuts or washers or anything for these? That's ridiculous. So much for this British Parts Northwest sway bar bracket kit, unless they forgot to put that in there. Regardless, now I've got to find nuts, washers, lock washers, etc. to mount this. That might be fun. So far I'm less than impressed with the both the end links and the bushing kit for the sway bar. So for example, this feels extremely cheap. So I was looking at I don't know if I remember, I told you that I'd actually only received one of these on a previous order and had it installed on this side and was waiting for one on the passenger side. So I ordered 2 just to be on the safe side. So I've received them, and I'm feeling it, and it just doesn't feel very good quality. So I've taken this one apart just to compare, and you can see things like this. So this is one of the, I don't know if it's going to come through on the camera or not, But this is one of the collars for the bushings, and I don't know if you can see the thickness there. So that's the new one that I received, and it feels very, very flimsy, almost like I could bend it through my fingers. Here is the collar on the old one. I don't know if you can tell how much thicker and how much substantial that is. So it feels probably twice the weight of that new collar. So I'm pretty disappointed with the new end links I've received from British Parts Northwest. The other thing is, the bushings that actually come on the end links, they do not fit with the sway bar. You can't actually get the bottom of the link through with the thickness of these bushes to be able to even start a nut. So I'd have to actually compress it some way, shape or form. Fortunately, I ordered the poly bushings, which are this thick. So comparison wise, look at the difference in thickness. So there's no way I was going to be able to even thread that end link with these bushes being utilized. So luckily I've got the poly bushings, and we'll go with those, which will allow me to thread the nut on the end of the end link. Anyway, just a little bit frustrated. This sway bar is kicking my butt. Alright guys, there's that bracket moving back to the exhaust, and that's looking pretty good. I did a quick test fit, so we'll get under the car and we'll put that on permanently. I just ground off the edges just to make sure they weren't sharp, and elongated one of the holes a little bit, but other than that I think it's going to be okay. So we'll mount the rear passenger side bracket to the differential. Alright guys, there's that rear bracket fitted. It fits perfectly with the rubber bush there in the middle. So that's looking good. So I'm going to consider this exhaust installation complete for now. Again, this will come off at a later date, so we can get it painted, get it fully welded up here where I've just put some tack welds on it. And it's going to have to come off again for another little project. I've got an AFR gauge coming for this car. It's been on order for probably about a month now, and I'm pretty disappointed it hasn't arrived yet. But we're going to have to put an AFR bung in here at the collector at some point, so that's going to have to come off. We're going to have to weld in a bung there. So we will do that at a later date, but I'm pretty happy with that. It's nicely mounted, quite solid. So yeah. The other thing I'm really happy about is I finally got the front sway bar installed, and it looks good. It is where it should be, so those new brackets helped out. Not really happy with the kit. It seemed a little flimsy to me, and it didn't have the hardware as I'd mentioned, and some other stuff, but anyway, it's on the car now, so I'm happy about that. That's another thing off the list completed, and something that you know had been a challenge for me for the last few months, getting that fitted with the old brackets and old bushings. Anyway, it's on now, so we won't have to discuss that again. The only thing I need to figure out is how the bumper brackets mount afterwards, but we'll figure that out. And we're not going to mount those right now anyway, because those are shin breakers. They stick out pretty far, and it's kind of difficult to get the body on with those in place, if not impossible. So we'll leave those off until a later date, but we'll get the hardware together for them at least, and bag the hardware up, and we'll put those somewhere safe and out of the way until we need them once the body's back on. Alright, that's it for now. Let's move on to another project. Alright, the next thing I think I'm going to do before I do anything is clean my bench off and put my tools away, because that's driving me crazy. But the next thing we're going to do after that is going to go back and take a look at this carb linkage. And I've just taken one piece off just to show you it a little bit more closely. So in order to fix this, I think what I can do is cut this rod down. So it's a hex rod, a threaded hex rod. So it's a reverse thread on the end by my thumb and regular thread on the other end. So what the plan is I've asked Alin to bring home his little metal lathe so I can turn that shaft down, or actually cut it and then turn it down and then re-thread it. The only problem is I don't think I have a die that small, so I may have to purchase a die, unless Alin might have one. I've just pulled out my die kit, tap and die set, and I don't have something small enough to do that. So it's either going to be a purchase, or hopefully Alin will have one. So we might make a bit of a trip to Alin's garage if he's got his lathe set up over the weekend. We'll go and beg a use of that. All right, that's it for now. Be back. All right, guys, just coming up to about 9 p.m. and I did do what I said I was going to do, and I came out and cleaned up all the tools and parts off the floor, cleaned the bench, and just having a look at the day's work out here. I'm quite happy that I got the rear exhaust mount finally finished. Well, the exhaust mount basically finished. As far as we're going to go though for now. Happy to get that sway bar off the floor and onto the car. And just taking a look at what we can do for tomorrow. I have this vacuum rail that I can clean up and paint, so maybe we'll do that tomorrow. I've got new hoses and new clamps for that to install that. Carburetor linkage, we'll probably wait till Sunday to do that. I'll see if Alin's got his lathe home like I'd mentioned. Worst case scenario, I can always probably transfer the linkage bits, the old linkage bits, the short bits, off of this old linkage onto the new linkage just for the test startup and run in. So if it comes to that, that's what we'll do. But in the meantime, we'll work on a solution to the shortening those new linkages. So that's about it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching and commenting as always. And we'll get back out here tomorrow and we'll figure out what we're going to do tomorrow.